What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old trusted humor, man.
Good old trusted humor, man.
Yeah.
Interesting choice of words, Terrence.
Yes.
Trust.
Trust. It's a big theme of everything we're talking about today, right?
Yeah. It's the midweek episode. Admittedly, when one of my friends and longtime Yalaba listener floated the first story up to me last night, I was like, you know what? It'll probably bubble over. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't have any expectations. But holy shit, man, today. But we will get to that.
We'll get to that.
We will get to that. But yeah, man. So it's the midweek of the first full week of 2023. Terrence, how has it been?
It's okay. Is there a special reason that you need to point out that it's midweek of the first week?
No, man.
Is it? I mean, is it scientific? I mean, there is scientific backing that, arbitrarily putting in your mind all these milestones of the year help you, get motivated to make changes and all that, lah. Is there something you're doing right now deliberately, or is it just?
No, it's just something that we often do, making conversation. Because I realized I jumped into the topic a bit too fast.
That's okay.
I was pulling back.
You're excited.
Pulling back.
You're pulling out.
Yeah, I am excited. I'm fucking excited.
You're excited. Yeah. Don't get too excited.
Excited.
It's not the. I mean, 2023 has been, everyone was hoping for a better start to the year, 2023, right? After the last 2 years and all. But a lot of the news coming out have been a lot of dampeners, right?
And it's only 11 January, man. 11 January.
Yeah. But before we jump on all that, of course, we do want to encourage people to do something, because if you trust us as a podcast, this is something you should do. And what is that you should do?
That is to just help spread the word of Yalabat by maybe introducing this podcast to someone in your social circle who may not have heard of us, who may have no idea that there are these two dudes trying to make sense of news 3 times a week with jokes in between. Yeah. So just share with one person. Share them the link or whatever, and let them have a little taste.
All right. Let them eat cake. But yes, here we are. The first big topic that you're so excited that you jumped right into it.
Yeah. I mean,
what is this big topic?
It is the still baking controversy around SPH Media Trust. And the revelation that figures that for their circulation has apparently been inflated by up to 12%. And I mean, this news first broke. You know who broke the news?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and who is that, Terrence?
It's the one and only online publication, Wake Up Singapore.
Yeah, they had the article come out on January 10th. That breaking 3 senior executives to leave SPH Media Trust over alleged discrepancies in circulation figures. So I think that is the thing that kickstarted the whole thing. And today there's just a barrage of articles by every publication house. Everyone with an opinion has posted it online, and now it's our turn lah. But it's just so. And I did, like, yesterday my friend did send me a link to, I think, a Straits Times article, and I was like, but this kind of thing, SPH, I'm not, like, it's not surprising what they do this kind of, like, the figures, it doesn't make sense. And I also said, I don't know whether we would talk about this because it feels like, of course, it's messed up, so they just pay the price. And here I am eating my words. Words. So to that person listening, you can just smile to yourself for the rest of today, because I humbly, I was too naive, man, too naive.
Yes, while Harish eats his naive pie, let's a humble pie. Let's I mean, let's go into a little bit. Could you go a little bit into the nuts and bolts of what kind of inflation was going on? Because I think it's it's worth just going through some of these basics, because that's all the information that's out there now. There's still a lot. There's probably still a lot more to be uncovered, but the news is only trickling out bit by bit, lah. Especially from within, from Straits Times itself, lah. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even a front cover story. It was on page 4 of the Straits Times, so they didn't deem it an important enough story to put it on the cover. But for a lot of people calling it out, I think it seems like a very important story. And what are the key figures or statistics to note here?
Yeah, so apparently the daily circulation numbers of SPH media titles have been inflated, or were found to have been inflated by between 85,000 and 95,000, which is about 10 to 12% of the circulation figures that are reported for daily circulation. And apparently, and this all came about because there was a review on internal processes within SPH Media Trust that started in March 2022. So there was that review, and it came to light that the circulation numbers were fudged, and apparently there were also instances where copies were printed, counted for circulation, and then destroyed. There were also instances of double counting of subscriptions. There was also another fund, a project account that was injected with funding over a period of time to purchase fictitious circulations. And last but not least, certain circulation numbers were also arbitrarily derived, which basically is just pulling out the ass.
Anyhow whack, as Sudhir himself said.
Yeah, anyhow whack. So the titles that come into question are the Straits Times, the Business Times, Lianhe Zapao, Shinmin Daily News, Berita Harian, and Tamil Murasu.
That's right.
So those are the facts, and many different people have come out with like internal memos and emails, and we'll go through that. But just based on that alone, right? Like, when did you first hear about this?
I saw it on Wake Up Singapore.
Oh, you saw it on Wake Up Singapore?
I'm a proud follower of the Instagram. So I follow Wake Up Singapore on Instagram. So yeah, kudos to them for breaking the story first, lah. And it's so-called hot off the press, right? To pardon the pun, but the fact that actually all this seems to have started when some senior executives left the company a couple of weeks ago. So it's not like it was just like, oh, literally happened yesterday and then Wake Up Singapore caught of it. It seemed like it was not being it wasn't being pushed out by the Straits Times itself, although Straits Times would have the best inside scoop on everything, right? And it seems like it would take an alternative news media site to break the story first before the mainstream media would jump on it, lah. So that's the what it looks like right now to everyone outside of the circle, lah. Yeah. But actually, you raised an interesting point just now. You and I, we work tangentially to this media industry, right? SPH, MediaCorp, and all this. We comment on news and current affairs, and also we rely a lot on SPH and MediaCorp for their news sources and all that, right? But your reaction when you first saw the news was, kind of like basic indifference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it that overnight you suddenly felt like this is a story worth talking about?
Because so the article that my friend shared with me was the one: senior SPH staff taken to task or have left company after review finds issue with circulation data. And it was kind of like more like retroactively there were things, and then the staff have left and all. So when I saw it, my reaction was like, I guess it was more like the expectations of circulation figures and how SPH Media Trust continues to seem like the beacon of knowledge in Singapore just blows my mind, lah. It blows my mind, and it almost feels too good to be true. So when I saw this, I also just looked at it. I was like, okay, but it feels like things haven't blown up yet, and I didn't understand the extent to which it was like how ingrained the circulation thing was, like, and what happened around it. There was the internal review. There was a staff leaving. There was a whole thing about SPH Media Trust separating from the SPH holdings and becoming a non-profit. Then as I read more today, I was like, there's a lot of like conspiracy theories all twirling about, and just the reaction of people. I think that changed my mind.
I see.
So I was a bit like flippant, admittedly.
Got it. I mean, I understand that perspective. For me, I kind of quite immediately knew it was a big deal, because of my extensive experience in analyzing what goes on in the media industry. And I know like,
yes, of course. Of course.
No, but immediately just reading what the news was and what they're trying to say about it, I'm someone who follows a lot of these stories like Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes, and things with 1MDB and all that. So immediately the thing is stuck out to me that is there a potential for something legal liabilities or something, even something criminal in this? And the answer is possibly, because the immediate thing is that when you fudge circulation numbers, you are fudging them to your advertisers, right? Advertisers may look at the data and they pay you based on those circulation numbers. So that might be affected. That's one level. Second level is that SPH, at the point of time before March 2022, SPH was a publicly listed company. So you have a duty to your shareholders and the public to disclose accurate data without fudging any of it. Obviously, fudging is really the next level. But the third level that I think a lot of people are missing of why you should care about this is that a lot of these circulation numbers are used and have been used to justify the government pumping in 900 million in the next 5 years to support SPH Media Trust, Literally, Minister Iswaran stated that circulation numbers for SPH have been going up, I think like 5% since 2017 or something like that in Parliament when trying to justify why they were pumping money into SPH Media Trust. So at those levels, advertiser, investors, and tax-paying public, all three should care and will be affected by this news. The credibility of the organization, why you're giving money to the organization, and all that. So to me, it's a big deal. And there's no reason it shouldn't be front and center on the front page of the Straits Times, because it's I don't want to say it, but is there a possibility that it's tantamount to something like fraud? There is a possibility, right? And we don't know enough details yet to say, but there is a probe underway. So it feels like there's a lot more to come around the corner that right now, they're trying to massage it and use a lot of terms to make it sound like, it's not a big deal. The circulation numbers shouldn't be affecting our advertising rates because that's based on readership data, which is taken by independent third parties. So there's just a lot of like big words and fluff going around to sort of mask the big problem that this is.
Yeah, and those are like when you read about it, when you think about it, it is quite ridiculous, because like even though ST the one of the heads, so she said Miss Teo Lei Lim, the CEO of SPH Media Group, because to your first point, right, about how circulation numbers are probably are something that advertisers will look at, right? I mean, that's the whole premise of advertising, right? You pay money to get in front of people. You pay money to get eyeballs. If someone can guarantee you more eyeballs, you probably will pay more, which is same for our podcast, same for our YouTube videos last time. But the CEO, Teo Lei Lim, came out and said that circulation data is not used as a basis of SPH Media's advertising packages. Our rates and advertising packages are based on reach and readership of individual titles and our SPH Media solutions as a whole. And basically said that's verified by independent and third-party research agencies, which to me is like, hello. Even if there's third-party institutions out there that are helping you verify, the fact that you publicly use these numbers, of course, it gives you more credibility or weight when asking to be charged for your charges to be a certain way. So that's absolute bullshit. Right. It's and the way they trumpet it, and what you pointed out is actually also very true about how it's used in government, because I think we may have covered it when there was an announcement that the government will provide SPH Media Trust with up to 900 million in funding over five next years. To quote Josephine Teo, when she was questioned by Pritam Singh from WP about how the government would ensure Singaporeans that SPH Media Trust content will not be tainted by allegations of political interference, Ms. Teo kind of like was a bit condescending, said his questions were too predictable. His question seems to suggest that we do not trust the journalists in our mainstream media to be objective in reporting, to apply their minds. And the true test is whether the public trusts the media and how they exercise their choice on a day-to-day basis in consuming news media when so many alternatives are available at zero cost. So essentially what she's saying is like people are reading. So of course they trust it, but the fucking numbers that show how many people read it is fake. Right.
Yeah.
So the more you go down this rabbit hole, the more you realize, whoa. This is not just like a small case of numbers being fudged. It has a lot of implications.
Yeah. And I think you raised the point about us being the media industry and all that, and talking to advertisers and having numbers, right?
Yeah.
For us, it's the numbers are, you live and die by those numbers. In a sense, I don't like it, but that's how people judge you. Since the day one that we started on YouTube, social media, how many subscribers do you have? How many views can you guarantee? And they're all out there. The moment you put out your product, you can literally count the number of views. Now, a podcast, we have very clear numbers that are given to us by Spotify that we share with our advertisers. Even we talk about, there are people on our subreddit. You can literally go on a subreddit and just see how many people follow us on Reddit and everything already, right? Yeah. So we can't hide from these numbers. But when you own the platform, when you are SPH and you are a monopoly and you own the platform, it's kind of shocking that you would fudge numbers to the point where you're not just fudging them, you're going to extents of like literally channeling away money to buy fictitious copies, and then after that, maybe I don't know if it's linked or what, but after that, destroying the copies. Literally a physical action of like buying copies, printing them, and then destroying them for the sake of inflating numbers. So there's definitely, that doesn't sound like an accident to me, lah. It sounds like it sounds intentional just based on that alone, right? So you really need to question, like, at what point was this, at what level was this, were these actions known? Was it all the way was it just at the foot soldier level, was it middle management level, or was it General Umbridge level? General, the Ng Yak Chun, Mr. Umbridge, General Umbridge, who was the CEO of SPH at the point of time, right? So there's a lot of these questions that I think we all should demand answers for, because you fall in one of those three brackets. You're either the advertiser, you're an investor, or you are a member of the taxpaying general public, for which $900 million of your money, up to $900 million, is committed to SPH Media.
So how do you feel when you read, like, the SPH Media editor-in-chief, Mr. Wong Wei Kong, sent an internal memo which has been verified by Today and three staff, that was kind of like like admitting that it is an issue that was discovered. It was a painful but necessary decision to make public that its circulation figures were inaccurate, its past circulation figures, and there will be more things to come. They are expected to get a lot of stick, and they're not going to shy away from it. So when you read that, you empathize a bit or not? Because he took over in October 2022. Yeah, he's been with Straits Times for a while, but he took over in October 2022.
Took over as editor-in-chief.
Yeah, from Mr. Warren Fernandez. Which was also quite a big thing when he left, right? When he left SPH. So when you read that sort of things, like, any compassion or not, Terence?
I think maybe a better way to look at it is to think about what Bertha Hansen wrote, right? I think she used to be with SPH, she used to be with Straits Times, at quite a senior level. I think what she's writing is that a lot of these decisions that are probably made at a business managerial level, right? have tarnished the reputation of the journalists working on the ground. And we're not just talking about the journalists working at SPH now, but journalists all the way in the past. Because you don't know how far back this goes, right? So it's a sad day for all the journalists who have worked or are working at SPH Media to learn that, their credibility has immediately come into question because of certain decisions by management to do certain things, right? So I can empathize where he's speaking as maybe as a journalist, as someone on the ground who's worked his way up and everything, to say that your work, your credibility has come into question because of some painful decisions that someone had made. But the part that I can't empathize with is that it feels like they're only sorry because they got called out, right? By alternative news media. Like they could have had an exclusive inside scoop on this story 2 weeks ago. They could have been the one to break the news and do a special and to say, hey, sorry, this happened and we're jumping on it and we're jumping the gun and actually covering it before anyone else covers it, because it's important that for you as the readers to hear it from us first. But the fact that Wake Up Singapore, of all publications, was the first one to
break
get
the
to
news,
it. It really tells you that if they could have gotten away with not talking about it, they probably would have, And they did for a couple of weeks. So on one hand, I empathize with what he's saying as a journalist. On the other hand, as a senior part of the senior leadership, I think that is a poor decision.
Yeah. And I mean, especially when he says SPH Media took a painful but necessary decision to make public that its circulation figures were inaccurate. I mean, like what you said, it's a painful but necessary decision in the context of having a bit of thought chatter in the grapevine. If it didn't happen, would it still have been a painful but necessary decision? And I think it is that lack of ownership or responsibility that causes so many fucking problems. Because if you look at the history, right, you know what you said about just now, how the period up till September 2021 or November 2021, SPH Media was part of SPH Holdings, which was a listed company, right?
Yeah.
So they have a duty to their shareholders, right?
That's right.
And then there was all this talk about, why it's splitting up, going to be SPH Media Trust, which is a non-profit, even when Mr. Umbridge, at that point, it was around this whole thing that, SPH is taking steps to ensure the integrity of its journalists and all that by becoming non-profit, keeping all the property stuff and all separate. But then you look at the timeline of stuff also. If you are going to be so this is my tinfoil hat on, conspiracy theory to the max. But if there was some rumblings already this data is fucking fake, right? In some way, you can imagine one step would be, we separate it out, we turn it into a non-profit, we change the editor-in-chief, we do all these changes to kind of reset because now this new editor who only took over in October 2022, if it was, say, Warren Fernandez who wrote the same note, who was presiding as editor-in-chief during the period of evaluation, which was 2 years up till, I think, March 2020 to March 2022, it would read differently. It's hello, you were the editor-in-chief, you're telling me you didn't know about this shit. So it just feels but then also we will never know. We will never know because when you don't join the dots for people join the dots themselves, and sometimes it's totally nonsense, but it just feels very icky everything is just oozing of ick
Yeah. So, but to be fair, being the editor-in-chief is a very senior role as a journalist, right? But you might be insulated or unaware of what's going on the business end of things, right?
True.
It's still only speculation that all senior management is complicit in this going on. The one thing I would add is that literally the nickname General Umbridge, it came from the press conference where he was taking umbrage at the integrity of his journalistic questions, right? So I mean, so literally, if your name already, your rep comes from you talking about integrity and all, and now this has happened and it happened under your watch as the CEO, I think a lot of questions need to be asked of his tenure, right? Like how much of this did he know, and the public needs to know, and the people who knew this at the highest level need to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, and like what you said, the people who are getting screwed over the most are the journalists, and not just the journalists. Everyone else who works at SPH, who have been putting in the time, producing good work, doing their best, but have no clue about this nonsense going on. Like
Yeah.
and it just feels like you can even be involved in like calculating the duplicate subscriptions without knowing that they're actually duplicate, because for companies that big, it's so segmented that you might not, it only a few people have complete oversight over everything lah. So
Yeah.
it just feels like how to take anything at face value. And another question is also, because the numbers were fudged, which were fake, is POFMA going to kick in?
POFMA.
Yeah, this is POFMA to the max, what?
Yeah,
right.
And yeah.
And I think like what you said, at the end of the day, the fact that it was being used as leverage in Parliament to push through certain policies or justify certain decisions, walao, that's like the next level lah, because it's being even used to shut down opposition politicians.
Yeah, or just questions in Parliament about the viability of the business and all that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and for those who think like, but you know, if like, I mean, similar to what you're saying, like this is what companies do, right? There's no exact accurate representation of numbers. Maybe it was an honest mistake. Someone was too zealous about making the numbers look good. And how is it a criminal thing? Well, I mean, not a apples to apples case, but look at the case of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. And it's quite telling that she finally, after all these years, she was finally sentenced to 11 years in prison for defrauding investors. Basically, in her case of Theranos, her defense entirely was that I was just trying my best to keep the company afloat, and I did not know a lot of the things that were going on with how numbers were being fudged or exaggerations of how much of contracts that they had completed and all that. Ultimately, I think what the precedent that the case sets is that as the CEO, you can't just pretend that you don't know what is going on in your company. You can't just sit there and say, I was just trying my best and I didn't know that all this was going on, So if there's serious cases of misrepresentation or fraud, whether to investors or advertisers and now even the general public, I feel like there are precedents that this is a much more serious case that could even, be something criminal.
Yeah. And that's why when they say the SPH staff and all have been taken to task, where the fuck is this task? Where are they taken to? What is task? What's taken to task?
Yeah.
Well, like that phrase also, taken to task. What the hell does that mean?
Probably fired lah. Right? Definitely left the company lah. Right.
Taken to
some
task.
Have left the company, suspended.
Yeah, some have left. Maybe. So you got to pull them back in. Whatever investigation and all. It needs to happen lah. And of course, as expected, the opposition political parties are jumping on this like crazy, and they should lah. The Progress Singapore Party (PSP) has a call for an independent inquiry into the case and full disclosure of measures to be in place to assure good governance and control. And our NC MPs will pursue this in Parliament. So you can expect this to be a hot topic going forward lah.
I mean, at this point, I would like to see SPH Media. I would love to see our government take a more proactive stance in really pushing for transparency for this. It doesn't. I don't think it needs to be opposition party. I think it needs to be. We need to see that. Okay. It could be like what we said. Like it is. Even the government, maybe they were victims of misrepresentation when Minister Iswaran himself was quoting data that he got from SPH Media, right? He was being lied to. There is that possibility. So they should feel even more offended than we are. And
they should take more umbrage lah, basically.
Yeah, they should be the ones really taking umbrage in this situation and not waiting and not trying to defend their decisions or their actions, and waiting for opposition to ask questions and then questioning why is the opposition pursuing this and all that lah. I would love to see I would love to see a more proactive stance by government, because I feel bad I feel bad for whichever minister or whichever department in the government that was given false information by SPH and then made to look like a fool, right? Because ultimately you trust that, they've done their processes, their audits, they're such a big company, they couldn't possibly do this. But literally channeling a fund to perpetuate fake numbers, that to me is like next level of like covering up. It's more than just an honest mistake already.
Yeah. And I think that is a good point you brought up, that for the ministers, we're not saying you are wholeheartedly guilty. You have to process so much information on a day-to-day basis, and you can't be expected to verify everything. So there's still a chance for the authorities and the politicians who have quoted the numbers to take a stance, because sometimes you're not culpable. And even between Terence and I, right, whenever we do like a branded gig and all, normally I handle the reports. Right? If I just pull some numbers out of my ass and then 5 years down the road, someone comes to Terence like, hey, Terence, fuck you, okay? These podcast things were wrong. Like Terence trusts me enough to not compare. I don't know whether he takes the reports and goes do his own double checking. But in this case, in this case,
I have to write my own memo that it's a very painful decision that Haresh like fucked up the numbers on this report.
Fudge numbers for the podcast, and like 10 to 12% discrepancy. But so for the people who have been implicated, you do have a chance, man, to take a stance, because this is messed up on so many levels.
Yeah. So
it feels like there will be still more things coming. Like for the editor-in-chief to say there might be more things to come. Things are going to come. Things are going to come.
Yeah. So I feel sad, because I think like more recently I'm a bit more I've come to an age where I feel like, okay, maybe print media shouldn't be something that we just relegate to the past or so. I think print media can exist in some form alongside the digital sources for media. There's still something not just romantic, but I think important about feeling the physical presence of print media, right? So I'm very happy to give a shout out to Job Media. I finally got off my ass and got a subscription, and I want to support them in their efforts to eventually create a proper physical magazine and all. And I'm actually rooting for the Straits Times to get their act together as the newspaper company, right? Because it's a part of our past as well, right? I don't know about you, but for me, reading new paper when I was a kid was such a treat, right? I would happily welcome my dad home every day, and he'd bring a copy of the new paper home, and of course I'll flip the sports page first, but I also spend time flipping through the rest of the pages, and I think it gave me a lot of joy just being able to read the news in a physical form and not have to watch TV and all these things. So it's a very big part of my past also, that I just hope one day that the future generations will also come to appreciate, maybe in a different way, right? But when they do something like that, it just like it's like you go and you set up your own nail in your own coffin, right? Basically.
Yeah. I mean, if print media disappears, then there's no way of ever making my family even the least bit proud of what we do, because sentimentally, we also have been featured on the front page of Straits Times and all that. And it's fucking great when convincing parents or anyone in your family who thinks, what the hell are you doing with your life, speaking on this microphone in your room. They're like, no, look, we appear in the papers. It helps a lot.
Yeah.
In our office also, we have these cutouts that have been framed up.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And just the concept that hundreds of thousands of copies of this picture are around people's homes. That picture,
have to minus 10%,
of your face. So now you got to take 10% away that. You take 10% away from that. I should feel 10% less happy about it. And I'm like, how do I feel about that? It's tough.
Yeah.
Just to feel that, that picture of you, it was probably like, it was bought, it was put in a room, then after it was shredded. Just chopped up into pieces. It makes me feel sad to think about that. Yeah.
And then just on it makes me relook an experience I had a few weeks ago with a different eye, in the sense that I actually subscribed to Straits Times because there was one article that I really wanted to read, and the first one is like a promo of 99 cents or something. So I signed up, and then by the end of the thing, I wanted to unsubscribe because the cost after that is $9.90 a month. No, That's even more expensive than like some world-renowned publications. So
you're talking
I
about
wanted
digital or just digital? Or with the, oh, wow, that's pretty expensive.
No, it's the Straits Times, the premium subscription lah.
Yeah.
So I don't have the physical paper come. So, and I was like, okay, let me try and unsubscribe. So first I go to their app to log in. I couldn't find an unsubscribe. Then I go to the website, I log in, I couldn't find an unsubscribe. Then I dig. And how you have to unsubscribe, right, is you send an email to unsubscribe. And then someone will call you back. So someone called me back and they said, okay, so hi sir, how can I help you? I was like, yeah, I just want to unsubscribe. They're like, oh, any reason why? Then I was like, I don't think the quality of articles is worth the money lah. Then they're like, oh, okay, I understand. But perhaps you would like to try this. I was like, no, I just want to unsubscribe. Then they said, okay, we will relook your case and review it, and within 30 days, if approved, we will unsubscribe. I'm like, why is there an approval process? I want to unsubscribe. So the whole process felt like they really like do they have to cling on until like that in this day and age where you normally unsubscribe with a click of a button? To go through the process blew my mind.
Yeah,
blew my mind.
I mean, to their credit, they're probably just going through some protocol to try and keep you lah. Maybe the first level is to talk to you, and then the next level is to probably offer you some discounts or something like that.
But then, think about
it just sounds like you're being handcuffed in a relationship right there. I want to break up with you. No, you cannot.
You cannot. Perhaps we could try. Try for 3 more months where I will go out with you twice a week. No, and like the manpower cost for someone to man the call also, it just feels like But I'm with you on that lah. I do hope it would be cool to have like a mainstream publication that we can say, okay, like you read something, you're like, okay, you know this is legit. It can happen. It'll probably take time, but yeah, man, come on, like SPH. Okay. Disappointing, but let's just see what happens in the coming weeks.
Yeah, let's see.
But
since we're talking about disappointments, our next story is about someone who's very disappointed with his customer experience at a F&B outlet, right? And I think it's taken a bit of a life of its own as well. I mean, in the ensuing, it's not just a customer and an F&B outlet kind of dispute anymore. It's blown up into something bigger lah. So what is this dispute we're talking about?
At the very high level, there's this outlet called Chubi Pizza, which is a pizzeria near Farrer Park MRT station. And on January 9th, they shared like screenshots of a complaint left by a customer and the customer's negative review on Facebook. So what happened was on Jan 6th, one of their staff was verbally abused by that customer because the customer had made a reservation at 8 p.m. and only arrived at 8:30, which is...
Did he arrive? Did he arrive at all?
Oh, no. He could only go to the restaurant. Yeah. Okay.
No, they called him. Yeah.
So they called him or he called? They called him.
I think they called him because it was the last order. Yeah. So they wanted to check if he was still coming in and if he wanted to take his last order before he comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. And he said that he was not happy and he was surprised that they couldn't keep him for 30 minutes. And he went on to say, I've been in Singapore for 6 years. It's the first time I've had such an awful experience. If you guys don't want to work beyond 8:30 p.m., I suggest you do something else other than the restaurant business and go work in an office. So there was a back and forth. And because they I think in the ensuing discussions, the Chubi Pizza, one of their staff did highlight that if your foreign norms and expectations do not align with those here, it is only respectful to adapt and realign them here lah. And then it became something that triggered the customer about that whole xenophobia, foreign, local thing. And then they left a bad review. And then now the internet is chattering. But just now when you said it is taken on a life of its own, what do you mean by that?
I think it has taken a life of its own because it has entered the realm of race and xenophobia, which once you go there, there's no going back lah. There's going to be a lot of comments. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, and a lot of people will, it's entered a gray area lah, right? Because now that the customer has said that they're racist, I think is taken a much more sinister turn than just a case of a bad customer review lah. Yeah. But for you, like just reading the exchange, because I think we'll put a link obviously to what the exchange was, and you can take a read for yourself lah. But off the top of your head, when you're reading this lah, how did you feel about the whole thing? Like, was it again like the SPH thing? Was it a non-issue to you, or what?
No, as in the more I read it, the more I saw the exchange. I do think that it's just a sad situation lah. Because the first message from Chubby Pizza, it's like I mean the first message was from the customer who messaged the next day. Yeah, he booked, and in the first message he already said, if you guys don't want to work beyond 8:30 p.m., I suggest that you do something else than the restaurant. It's an absolute disgrace. And I think the main gripe was that there's a $30 deposit that you have to make when you make a reservation. And if you don't show, it will be gone lah. So the last statement was, so I hope you will not charge me for no show while you were the ones rejecting us. Big disappointment. The first message from Chubby Pizza was, I mean, it was okay. They said they're sorry, not able to serve. They pointed out that more than 30 minutes. And what they said was like, yeah, they called to see if they could help take the order so that before the kitchen closes, they can still squeeze it in before the person arrives, which, if is the truth, I thought it was a nice gesture. But then they shot themselves in the foot by saying the next message, if your foreign norms and expectations do not align with those here, it is only respectful to adapt and realign them here. So that's where I feel like, fuck. The moment you bring that up, you cannot win already. You cannot win.
It kind of like, actually I thought, the initial response was really good lah, in the sense that, the guy talks about, the guy tried to bring out the fact that he was putting down his kid, and that, that's why he can't make the restaurant. He can't make the timing, right? So, as a young parent myself, I can empathize with that. But then the next question I ask is, then why are you making a reservation when your kids' sleep timing is so close to that lah, right? As a parent, you're kind of being unrealistic, in doing that, and probably also you end up like rushing through the process with your kids as well, which is not great lah, right? So that's on the customer lah. Maybe something else came up. I don't know. Okay, let's maybe it's too early to say that it's not fair to say that they planned badly or what lah. Maybe something else came up. Maybe the kid was sick. Okay, possibly. So I think the immediate response where they pointed out that the operating hours and booking fees are stated clearly. Our staff too have their families and babies waiting for them at home. It is our responsibility to ensure that they finish their day timely to return home. I think that was a very good response, right? To point out that as much as you think that the restaurant is entirely at your service, the point is there are very clearly stated opening and closing times, and they can't open the restaurant any later just because you made a reservation that you were more than half an hour late for, right? So I think that response was great, and that's how they should do it. But yeah, like you, I'm also like, they shot themselves in the foot by just coming in and bringing in the foreign norms thing, because at no point, if you really analyze the guy's message, at no point was he pointing out that Singaporeans are lazy or anything like that. Because there's the screenshots that Chubby Pizza posted, but in the actual caption to the Instagram post, right, they say that they say this of the customer lah. The customer further lectured us about how we should do something else other than restaurants and go work in the office for not waiting for him to show up. In his words, he hated this about Singaporeans. So I can see what you read there is basically Chubby Pizza projecting some of their own feelings about foreigners in Singapore onto this bad customer review lah, right?
Yeah.
Because at no point was the guy saying that you Singaporeans are working too little and shouldn't be working in the restaurant. He was just basically saying that he's lived in Singapore and this is the first time, he's lived in Singapore 6 years and this is the first time he's experienced this at any restaurant, and if you guys don't want to work beyond 8:30, I suggest you do something else other than restaurant, go work in the office. So that doesn't say anything about you Singaporeans can't deal with this, you know. But Chubby Pizza has made it about saying that accusing him of saying that he's pointing out all Singaporeans. So it's a very tribal thing going on here. It almost feels like Chubby Pizza is trying to, stir up emotions and rally Singaporeans against this person, which I don't think that's not the intention of what the person was doing, right?
Yeah. So that's why the first message from the person is like, hey, why you must say like that? The first message from Chubby Pizza is like, hey, actually, good response. The second message that comes right after without any response from the customer is that foreign thing. And I don't know, it's just weird because ultimately it was one message, right? What boggles my mind is why do they feel the need to post this? Like, why Chubby Pizza? Why you want to post this? Like, as a business, you always have things to deal with customers and all. You post this, not even being aware enough to understand that you were the first one who brought the race card into the picture.
Not race, they brought the whole foreigner card.
Oh yeah, correct. Yeah, foreign local card into the picture. Yeah. And like what you say, like it feels like, are they trying to stoke or are they trying to kind of show that they stand up for Singaporeans, which you see in the comments. I would say more comments are congratulating them and siding with them as opposed to the customer. Like, I don't think the customer also did something right. That sounds like a very unreasonable person. But now there's a thread on Hardware Zone saying FT comes late for Singaporean restaurants and kena scolded and blah blah. So it just starts this whole fucking thing again when it didn't need to.
Yeah. But why are you being such a woke snowflake? Why can't you just you're just being a woke snowflake, right? Aren't you? Why can't you just accept?
But that's what you project on me all the time. You just see this walking snowflake that in the hot sun just melts as he sweats, right?
Yeah. No. But no, I mean, I try to understand it from the perspective of people who are liking the post and then going all out and saying, "Good job, Chubby Pizza. I will come and support you," and all that kind of thing. And if you were a Singaporean overseas and someone said, let's say you're one of the hundreds and thousands of Singaporeans traveling to Japan, or something, and then a Japanese person said to you, "Oh yeah, maybe from where you come from, I know you all don't have to wear masks, but in Singapore we have to wear. In Japan we have to wear masks." A statement like that will probably rile you up somewhat, right?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, it would. So to so clearly try to say that it's because of where you are from, that's why you behave like that. That is it's not the right approach to take for this kind of situations. I think if you have one unreasonable customer, it's just one. You don't have to make it about all foreigners and how he's not adapting to the norms in Singapore. What are the norms in Singapore? What's the norms in Singapore? Are they talking about the fact that restaurants close early or what? Because to my understanding, in a lot of other countries, like restaurants close a lot earlier than in Singapore already, right? They don't open much later or anything.
I mean, depends Some close later
Some close later, yeah. But a lot of times I'm always surprised. For example, Australia, everything shuts by 5 or 7 p.m. or something. Even Japan, like the stores don't close later. Most stores don't open later than 8 p.m. Restaurants, yes, but the stores don't, So a lot of times when as a Singaporean and I've been overseas, I felt like, oh shit, I'm projecting my Singaporean norms onto other cultures where I feel like everyone should be open until 9:30 p.m. Everyone should be open till 9 p.m. That's the minimum. Like last order can't be any earlier than 9 p.m. Then I realized actually no, actually in that case the foreign, to me for my experience, the most part, foreign norms is that people don't stay open that late for everyone.
No, but if you go to Europe, dinner is like at 9 p.m.
Correct,
Spain or something. So it's
I am generalizing somewhat. I am generalizing somewhat in the sense I haven't been to that many European countries recently. Plus, we're talking about restaurants versus retail outlets, right? Because retail, I know retail in Europe also doesn't open late, but I always have this expectation that stores open at least until 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's just that there's no standard for what the norms are in Singapore. So for whatever industry, whatever you do, right? Because
So
there's different restaurants also. Some restaurants open late, some restaurants close early, right? Yeah.
So then using your thought experiment, like let's say someone you meet in Singapore says, "Hey Terence, I've been in Singapore for 6 years and no one has ever, I've been on podcasts in Singapore for 6 years and no one has ever asked me the questions you ask. Like I think you should go do something else and be a podcaster. Lah. How would you feel?"
I would say, please align to the local norms of our podcast. No lah. So I mean, the question, that statement, just to me, when you're saying it, I have no idea what it means. Doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. There's so many nuances to being, a podcaster. There's so many nuances to being a Singaporean that statement itself tells me more about you than it does about me, lah. And that's why I think that statement that Chubby Pizza made also just basically tells me more about the person who wrote that rather than about the customer, lah.
Yeah. I mean, because the customer also says like, I've been in 6 years in Singapore. It is the first time I've had such an awful experience. So this is already an awful experience, which I don't know. It feels like what do you expect the restaurant to do? Most restaurants, if you go to a restaurant, they say kitchen is closed. You don't go and tell them, hey, I think you should close your restaurant. You go find an office job. No lah, you just fucking the kitchen closed already, right? So in this case, I don't know, man. It feels like and this again similar to the first story because of whoever was handling the Chubby Pizza Instagram account. It paints an overall picture of the establishment, which is sad because it's a restaurant. The pizzas look fucking great, and it just feels like this Chubby Pizza. I don't know. It's Chubby, the person manning the Chubby Pizza IG account, and this customer feels like they are almost two sides of the same coins here.
Yeah. So I think we all agree he's a very unreasonable customer, right?
Yeah.
But the response by Chubby Pizza was not was not great either, right? Paints everyone in Singapore. Everyone in Singapore is tainted by this experience. Everyone, if these are the kind of exchanges that go on between customers and F&B outlets in Singapore, it makes all Singaporeans, everyone who lives in Singapore, look bad also. So that's my if we're going to generalize, let's generalize that. This makes us all look bad, right?
Yeah, correct. It's just an unfortunate situation from every angle.
Yeah,
it's just something that should just been a private thing. Like, just deal with that in public. I mean, private. Why?
Deal with
but okay, but again, I didn't know of Chubby Pizza until this. So in some way, them posting this publicly made me look at their Instagram and look at their pizzas and go like, oh shit, I didn't know this existed.
Yeah, that's right. So no such thing as bad publicity, lah.
Yeah. No such thing as bad publicity.
Imagine if we went on Instagram and we posted every nasty comment we've ever gotten on YouTube. Or whatever, like Reddit or
fucking
whatever.
Can compile a books,
Yeah, it'd be a whole book by itself. But I guess, like what you said, Chubby Pizza, they have their reasons for wanting to post this and we don't know them. But yes, they are much more. We're talking about them on this podcast and feeding the fire, right?
Yeah,
feeding
exactly.
Fueling the fire, But yes,
yes.
If you want to talk about a bit happier things, what was your one shook comment of these past few days?
Our one shook comment. I mean, my one shook comment was something that was posted on the last Reddit thread for 356. And it was about by Book and Cook which talked about how it was related to the topic of kid friendly places or why the kids in Singapore are not getting enough activity. So they shared their experience that they're really grateful for the kid friendly places in Singapore. And when they were in Jakarta, there was not many outdoor venues. So they just end up going to the malls and there's pollution. But they also shared this link to this video that is titled "Why Safe Playgrounds Aren't Great for Kids." So it's a 5-minute video and it talks about why lah. And I mean, it goes into the trends of like how risky playgrounds are actually making a comeback, and why lah. So it was just an interesting watch lah. And they differentiate between risk and a hazard. Like a risk is just more like challenging, and a hazard is an actual danger. So like it was interesting because I think when we were talking about it, also even between us, we were like, oh, but if there's less injuries, isn't that a good thing lah? So I just thought that video was interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my one shot comment also was, it's actually more regarding the episode 355, where we talked about the Potong Pasir flat where the family who bought it discovered that there was the remains of someone who died there for 9 years, right?
Yeah.
So Majestic Economist 6, shared a story about how when he was a boy and he saw his great grandmother pass away at home lah, and as a child he was wondering why he needed to be there. But now working as a pastor, he has taken care of a lot of funerals where the person literally passes away in the home. And people dying at home is much more common than most people realize, as most elderly prefer to die at home and then in the hospital. So that was something we are discussing, right, about how dying at home is a much more common occurrence. And anecdotally, hearing from Majestic Economist 6 is it's true that there are a lot more elderly who prefer to die at home than die in the hospital. So don't be too surprised if that happens.
Yeah.
So you can't expect every property agent to know exactly who died there and who didn't die there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so while that is a sobering thought and all, I just want to say that was my one show comment from last episode.
Oh, it was. Oh, could it be? That was 2 days
Yes.
ago. Oh, did I not? Did it not occur to me? Yeah, or maybe I wasn't listening to you closely.
Yeah. So it comes clean. Whenever I'm sharing my one show comment or one show thing, Terrence doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't listen. It just doesn't register.
Maybe in my head, I listened to you and I was like, oh yeah, that's such a great comment. Then when I actually read it myself, then I'm like, oh yeah, I totally need to talk about this. But that's our first overlap in the one shot comments, right?
Yeah, but it's okay, Terrence. Along the theme of this episode, I'm getting more comfortable with media outlets or institutions faking interest and faking numbers.
Yeah, we double counted the one shot comment.
We double counted our one shot comment.
Arbitrarily derived our one shot comments, and that's what happens.
Yeah, but don't worry, Terrence will be taken to task after this. You'll be taken to task after this.
Yes,
exactly.
But so, what is your one shot thing? Hopefully, it doesn't overlap this time.
Yeah. My one shook thing was something that I saw someone post on LinkedIn, and it made me dig a bit deeper. And have you heard of this thing called the Universe 25 experiment or not?
No, I haven't.
And holy shit, I'm probably going to go further down the rabbit hole. But basically, in 1968, an expert on animal behavior and population control, John Calhoun, I'm not so sure how to pronounce his last name, but basically he built this utopia for mice, and it had walls to climb, it had areas for them to reproduce, and basically, if you imagine the natural behavior of mice, he created something to replicate it and make it as comfortable as possible. Water available all the time, food available all the time, and it started with I think eight pairs of mice that was specifically chosen for the qualities for this experiment lah. And by the end of the first year, I think they reproduced there about 600 plus mice, and the thing could contain 3,000 mice in total lah. So it was, I think the population was doubling every 55 days, but after the 1 year mark, right, for some reason the population only started doubling like once every like 100 plus days, and the male animals suddenly started getting a little less active. The females started attacking their young, and soon they started attacking each other when there was abundant food. And then from the fights you get these mice that like had scars, and like some young were being eaten, and there was a lot of unrest. And mice were self-harming themselves. And then like halfway through the next year, there was this group of mice that started just living in isolation. and they were termed the beautiful mice because they were in isolation. They just groomed themselves, they ate and they slept, so they were not so scarred lah. And by the end of 2 years, all the mice died.
Wow.
So it caused a lot of got a lot of attention because apparently he had done experiments with other animals before and after also, where he tried to tweak up certain situations to prevent the mice from dying lah, and it was almost always the same fate.
Wow.
So basically that became a discussion point about how is this an analogy for the human race, or what is inevitably going to happen to the human race. And it's interesting, is fucking insane. It's so damn interesting. And yeah, it just it's just a bit weird to see these animals display certain traits that you do see in human society now, like, you know, increasing rates of mental health issues, mental health problems, like more violent behavior. So it just blew my mind, man. And I tried to find things that debunked it, but it was a controversial experiment, yes, but generally I think it wasn't like, you know, that Stanford prison experiment where people were saying that's a horrible thing to do. This one was more like, there was a lot of discussion around it. So holy shit, it's interesting. It's crazy. Crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
another
my
corner of the internet. Another corner of the internet that Harish has found to sink into.
Correct. Yeah,
my one shock thing is you know, a bit more mainstream.
Little Miss Sunshine, is it?
Not so mainstream lah, but
Little Miss Sunshine, is it? Little Miss Sunshine?
No, not Little Miss Sunshine. No overlap this time. No double counting. My one shock thing was 12 days ago, a video was released of Sacha Baron Cohen using the character Borat Sagdiyev to pay tribute to Kennedy Center honorary U2, because U2, the band U2, was being honored for their contributions to the performing arts in American culture by the Kennedy Center, and they got Sacha Baron Cohen to pay tribute to U2 on stage. So it's just a 4-minute clip, and I'm surprised that it didn't go more crazy viral than it already is, because it was pretty funny, and then seeing two legends all in the same stage. Not the same stage. I mean, there was Borat on stage and there was U2 in the audience, but even the president of the US, Joe Biden, was in the audience as well. So it was a pretty big thing, and it's pretty funny. So yeah, do check it out.
Oh, sweet, man. Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen is awesome.
Yeah, always fun to watch. But yes,
cool.
From your fresh off the press from your trusted, news discussion
neighborhood
source
podcast.
But
friendly. Yeah,
keep trusting us.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be things to unfold over the next few days. So we shall see what happens.
And we'll probably be talking about it here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Peace.